Welcome back, growers. It's Friday, April 11th, and we're here to learn as we grow. Today's journey takes us into growing in containers. Think you need a backyard to grow your own food? Think again. Whether you've got a balcony, a windowsill, maybe it's a rooftop, maybe it's just a stairs to the entryway of your house, a few spots on a porch, let's turn small spaces into big harvests. So I want to hear from you. Either in the replay or in the live chat, do you garden in containers? What's your experience? And don't forget, we're going to give a bonus top 4 tips for container gardening at the end of our conversation. So, of course, we have Radio Jonesy chiming in with tomatoes and peppers, bell pepper and a hot pepper also representing the Australia crowd over there in Tasmania. We have Bowtie Life in the Garden, who has lots of experience with container gardening. We're excited to hear what he has to say. We do have a poll going, a little questionnaire. It says, what would you most love to grow in containers this season? Fresh herbs like basil, thyme, and mint, salad greens like lettuce, kale, and spinach, tomatoes, peppers, or strawberries and other small fruits. There is container varieties for blueberries. There's dwarf citrus trees, I believe. That would fall into that category. So container gardening, we're going to talk about materials, like the container essentially, right? The different sizes and how to pick which size you need for what you want to grow. The great crops list and the varieties specifically that are hybridized for containers, right? Radio Jonesy says, oh, Gear Grind 19, tomatoes and marigolds. Yes. Do you have a specific type of marigold that you prefer for containers, or is it all of them go? Gear Grindin. Radio Jonesy says, yes, you can grow potatoes in bags and big pots. I did that 2 years back. It's great to experiment, right? Miss Sharon is here. Welcome to our conversation about growing food in small spaces, specifically the container gardening. And Miss Sharon is throwing out that reminder on the YouTube chat to have live chat, not top chat or all messages, so you can see what everybody's saying as I'm talking. So with container material options, we have the fabric grow bags. You've seen those. You can buy those in lots of places around. There's smart pots. There's root pouches. There's things that can hang on fence lines. We talked about that last night at that live stream. Go back and check that out on your replay list, or do it yourself with reusable shopping bags, pillowcases. Has anyone grown food in a pillowcase before? I also think of burlap sacks, feed bags, the soil bag itself, right? So the pros to that would be lightweight, breathable, promotes air pruning of roots, great drainage, as long as you do have holes in it, like a pillowcase. I feel like you still need to like cut corners on the pillowcase, right? And then we're going to go through the cons of all of these things too. They can dry out quickly. They need frequent watering, not as durable over multiple seasons. So if you're looking for something that you can use every single year as you grow, that's something to consider maybe not having. Radio or Gear Guide in 19, sorry. All marigolds grow in pots fine. Great. Janet Potter, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our conversation. Gear Grind in 19 though the huge ones do better in 4-gallon or bigger containers. It's all about having the space for the roots, right? It's good to see you here, Gear. We have our plastic pots. So I think of the containers that trees come in. And I say that because if you find someone that's planting a bunch of trees, get their containers because they're usually the stronger plastic. Buckets. We talked about 5-gallon pails yesterday in that live stream as well. Drilling holes in the bottom. What can you grow in that? Storage totes. There was pictures of Rubbermaid totes that were modified to grow in on a balcony. The nursery pots, what your plant start comes in when you buy it, is plastic. We also have a lot of talk about reused yogurt or salad containers. I even talk about the rotisserie chicken containers. So the pros is affordable, lightweight, holds moisture well, easy to find and repurpose. But the cons to that is they can overheat in full sun. They could leach chemicals if not food safe, and some degrade in UV and over time, right? Uh, we're going to move into recycled containers, which we kind of just talked about. Let's see if we can come up with some new ideas. Gear Grind in 19 says lack of parts. We got Friday off, but about to go into the store, so we'll have to go. Oh, okay. You get your errands checked off there. Janet says, I'm going to try growing potatoes in a large wicker basket that was gifted to me. I've seen, my nose is itchy again. It's like when I'm live, my nose gets itchy. I saw a laundry basket, the tall cylinder ones that have holes all over. I've seen that. We talked last night about growing in cardboard boxes. And when you're doing that, you would just have to once you've planted your cardboard box, it does not move. It's staying there until you're harvesting, right? We have Green Thumb Prepper. Hey, folks, welcome to our conversation about growing food in small spaces, specifically containers. We did hit a bunch of topics last night on that live stream. I can't remember what we called it. No yard, no problem, I think is what it was. Growing without a yard, I think is what we talked about yesterday. Gear is get my chicken basket and Blizzard. Ooh, yummy. Bowtie, you caught me. I'm early and I'm doing it because of my life. You can say it's for you. I won't tell anyone else. But it's good to see you here to talk about all your experience. Green Thumb Prepper says, I know a thing or two about that. Perfect. You're in the right room then. Uh, so far, we are going to do a bonus 4 top tips for container gardening at the end, so stick around. Tonight we're talking about the materials, the pros and cons of different containers, and maybe there's things that we're going to talk about that you've never heard of before, the size of container, and of course the master crop and variety list. We talked about our fabric grow bags. We did the pros and cons of those, the plastic pots. We're going into recycled containers, your milk jugs, soda bottles, old dish pans, baskets with liners, garbage bags. I've heard of people growing potatoes in garbage bags that have drainage holes poked in them, stabbed in them, however we're going to say that. But again, just like the cardboard box, it's not going to move. Once that thing's planted, we're not moving it around, right? Sometimes the benefit of container gardening is you get to follow the sun. If you're in a new space, new land, and you're itching to grow and you can't wait, putting things in containers helps you map out where your sun lines are. 8 hours, 6 hours, 4 hours, shade, right? So pros for recycled containers: cheap, free, eco-friendly because we're reusing stuff, great for creative gardeners. But the cons, it may require drilling for drainage. A common theme you're going to hear tonight is drainage, right? Not always long lasting, and it can look scrappy without styling. You know, sometimes we've spray painted things to make them all look better. Radio Jonesy says, I have a big yard with one big problem. Bowtie Life in the Garden says, I've got to give Adam a hard time for being sweet and asking about me last night. Yeah, I hope Adam comes in and hears us talking about him now. Bowtie Life in the Garden, fabric grow bags are the way to go with me. We are super humid, so they don't dry out easy. I had over 45 of them on our 14-foot patio in our apartment before we bought our house. Now, I would love to hear the gallon size and where you got the fabric grow bags from, because not all fabric grow bags are equal. If you're getting them from a dollar store or a gardening company, they're different, right? The fabric tote bags that we get to go grocery shopping in, that's different. So I'd love to hear more specifics on that. Janet Potter, I am growing peppers in a container that I got from the local ice cream shop. I started them in old sour cream containers. Look at that. Green Thumb Prepper, I had 78 2-gallon ice cream buckets a few years ago growing food. Tell us your crops list as we go on throughout this. Radio Jonesy says if you cut a soda bottle in half, you use potting soil and use the top half for a mini greenhouse effect. Yeah, it has its own lid then. Kentucky Goblin has a channel where he used the Dairy Queen ice cream sundae containers, the travel ones, so it has a lid and it's clear. It makes a little greenhouse. I thought that was really smart if you're going there and getting those, right? We all need some ice cream sometimes. Bowtie Life in the Garden, 10 and 25-gallon bags. And they're all Garden brand grow bags bought on Amazon. 10-gallon bags were 20 for $40. Well, I feel like that's a very reasonable price. And as we go, we're going to talk about the soil as well in our grow bags, how to fill them. If you have a favorite potting soil as we go, we can hear about that from you. We also, for materials, we have terracotta clay pots. The pros, they look natural, they're breathable, they prevents overwatering, and they're attractive. The cons, heavy to lift, breakable, very, very breakable, can dry out very fast, and not ideal for very hot or very cold climates. Yeah, we have to. Something just fell off the wall. We have to watch the temperatures if we're going to have those outside, right? They're cute inside for houseplants, right? There's glazed ceramic pottery. The pros are durable, retains moisture better than terracotta, beautiful for patios and front steps. They are expensive. Yes, it is on here. Cons, expensive. You gotta like hit the end of the year sale or something on those. I don't know. And usually you need wheels to put underneath them. Those big ones to move them around. Heavy. May crack in freezing temps. We also have wooden planters. You can build your own cedar boxes and crates and use pallets. How many of you are do-it-yourself plant pallet masters in the chat? The prones are extremely durable. Excellent insulation for roots. Great for permanent setups. Cons, heavy, not good for balconies, right? Expensive. I say not if they're free. May leach lime. Understand what your palette is. There's different types of palettes and what they could have on them. If anyone wants to say how to maneuver that in the chat, go ahead and I'll read it. Green thumb prepper. Peppers, tomatoes, too small. Herbs, squash, herbs, bunching onions. Miss Sharon says, the grow bags that were given to me are not good quality, but no idea where they came from, and they might be 1-gallon bags. So as we go through the crops list and what size those crops need, I hope you find some that fit the 1-gallon range. Green Thumb Prepper, I use 55 to 65-gallon grow bags to grow weed. Oh, okay. Somebody, the Honey Homestead had really big grow containers, but I can't, and it's not for weed. I can't remember what size she had though. Bowtie Life in the Garden. I have been using them in our Florida sun for 5 years now, the same ones, and they still stand up. I think only 2 or 3 have came apart, mostly from abuse. I do want to know, how are you storing them when you're not growing food in them? Are you completely emptying them and like folding them up and putting them in a garden shed? Do mice want to chew on them in the off season at all? Or do you leave them outside in their spot all year round filled? How do you manage that? Adam's here, stopping in really quick to say hello. It's good to see you. Bowtie made it and watched the replay yesterday and heard you asking for him. There he is. Okay, so then we have something that we see very often now is the metal conversation, the metal containers. Examples, galvanized tubs, old filing cabinets, feed troughs, the birdies beds. There's other companies that make them. I can't think of any other ones right now, but the pros, industrial, aesthetic, durable, deep for root crops. I mean, even some trees you could probably put in them, right? cons, there is a concern with overheating in the sun. This actually got brought up in my Minnesota Facebook gardening group. Somebody asked if anyone has experience with the metal beds, if they are seeing temps rise in the soil more and it's concerning. The advice that was given was don't plant within the 6 inches of the edge and then mulch to keep things cool, which is a pretty regular answer. Now, I think what I like to see with those metal raised beds, which I don't have, is trailing plants like what is it, sweet alyssum, and there's a certain type of nasturtium that really grows out and will trail out and down, right? May rust over time, depends on what it is. Sharp edges depends on what it is, right? Some things have guards that come with like a rubber sealy thing that goes on top of it, so there isn't any sharp edges. It depends on if you're jimmy rigging something or if it was a company that is actually making the material for this purpose of gardening. And remember, pro tip, guys, like we said, we're going to hear about this. Always ensure good drainage holes no matter the container. Maybe you went to the Salvation Army, the thrift store, you got something, pick a thing, and it doesn't have holes in it. You need to drill some holes in it if you want to plant in it, right? We're going to talk about the wonderful crops list next, so get your notebooks ready. Radio Jonesy says, I have weeds everywhere here on my hillside yard. Hey, nature wants to be covered up, right? Adam says, I'm not talking to you, Dave. You left me alone last night. Bowtie says, when storing them, I leave the soil in them and pile them up in a corner of my garden. Piled up, the weeds can't grow in them. So they're ready for next season. We also are going to get into how to take care of your container garden throughout the whole season for success as we go here. And Adam said to Bowtie, okay, I'm over it. Yeah, it's good to let things out. We're here to listen to one another. Bowtie says, I will dump out the soil when I'm ready to plant them in the spring. You dump the soil onto a tarp. You add your amendments, roll it back and forth with the tarp to mix, and then refill the grow bags. Just planted 8 with potatoes. What was the variety of potato you planted? And if you want to share your amendment recipe, feel free. I have green stalks, so I dumped them out into a wheelbarrow because then it's like a more manageable height for me. And I had one of my children help me, and added some new potting soil. And I'm not going to add any amendments to it until it's planting time because they'll just get washed out, I feel like, because it's not planting time. But I had a nice, beautiful day and some time, so, right? Okay, let's get into the list here. Best crops and varieties for container gardening. We have the leafy greens section. The specific types of lettuce are Butter Crunch, Little Gem, Tom Thumb. I know that Baker's Creek sells those for sure. Rareseeds.com. If you can stand spinach, Bloomsdale, Baby's Leaf, and Space are known for container growing. In the kale section, we have Dwarf Blue, Curled, and Lacinato. Lacinato is that dinosaur kale. We also, in the green leaf section, there's another banner here. Arugula, the Astro or Rocket or Wild Arugula are listed as container friendly. In the leafy greens planting, it is a shallow rooted, fast growing crop. So your container depth can be 6 to 8 inches, and you could get probably 4, depending on the diameter of the container. Now, if it's like a windowsill box, obviously more than 4 fit in there. Enter at your own risk on how many need to go somewhere. So that's the leafy green section. Here's the potato answer. It was Yukon Gold, a second early potato. As a determinate potato, it does not need hilling and is a 50 to 90 day crop. It sounds like a winner. That's for sure. We have the tomatoes. It's the cherry tomatoes that work for container gardening are Tiny Tim, Tumbling Tom, and Sweet 100. If you want a larger size tomato, like a sauce or a slicer, that means you're looking for something that's a dwarf bushing variety, like Patio Princess, Balcony, or Bush Early Girl. A lot of people have success with early girls. What I also want to add to this is micro dwarf. So it is a cherry tomato. I grew these inside and I want to grow them in my green stock this summer. Orange Hat is a micro dwarf tomato that I had success with. Now remember, tomatoes are heavy feeders with deep root systems. Depending on if it's the micro dwarf, the cherry, or just a bush dwarf, you should just go with more is better, more space is better. Uh, Specifically for the cherry tomatoes, the depth of the container should be 12 to 18 inches. You can use, if you don't want to talk about inches, you can just do 3 to 5 gallon pot minimum. So a 5 gallon bucket, right? If you're looking at growing any of the bush or dwarf tomatoes, a 5 to 7 gallon pot or bucket is going to be needed for that. My plan is micro dwarf tomatoes are just going in my green stock. So that is the larger depth one, and it's probably maybe 12 inches. Because I know I grew them in the house and they produce tomatoes in just like, what are those 4 cells? I don't know how deep the 4 cells are. Adam says, I'm starting my taters this weekend in raised beds. Our summers are too hot to grow Tony O'Neill style in pots. I can't plant anything yet. Our temps were 45 degrees in the soil during the day, which means it's colder at night. So I gotta wait a little bit longer. Bowtie Life in the Garden says, normally I add Dr. Earth's organic tomato and herb question at planting time. For fruiting crops, I add a spoma tomato tone after a few weeks. Yeah, that's a granular that you sprinkle on top and water in. Good balance for fruit production. That's pretty much all I do. I love a lot of the espoma stuff. I want to get the tomato tone. Bowtie says, I occasionally supplement with fish emulsion or blood meal for nitrogen and bone meal for phosphorus. Absolutely nothing else on my whole property. In the peppers category, for the sweet peppers, there's your lunchbox, mini bells, California wonders. In the hot pepper category, there's the jalapeno, cayenne, Numex twilight. Remember that peppers have compact shallow root systems. Their container depth for ideal growth is 10 to 12 inches deep. You can do 3 to 5 gallon pot. One plant goes in one container. I did peppers in a 5 gallon container and it worked out great. And if you're curious about hanging containers, we have a whole section for that. We're going to talk about that after this, of things to grow in a hanging basket. The root vegetables, carrots specifically, you're going to need something that isn't super long, right? And I don't know how to say this one. Parisian might be how you say it. Little finger, I'm very familiar with. Thumbelina are good container carrots. Radishes, you have your cherry bell, your French breakfast, and Easter egg, which French breakfast and Easter egg are beautiful. If you're going to put some beets in, you can eat just the greens, or you can try to produce a beet in a container. The Detroit dark red, chigoya, and golden beet. Golden beet is a winner for sure. And for those root vegetables, they need depth for straight growth. So that container should be at least 8 to 12 inches minimum. I go bigger, right? Mother Earth Garden Club. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our conversation. Bowtie says, well, I guess I forgot to mention the 12 to 16 yards of compost I add each year. That is an ingredient that is very important. Mother Earth likes Dr. Earth stuff. Adam says, I experimented with heirloom tomatoes in 10-gallon pots on my patio last year. I got more off of them than the ones in full sun in the garden. Our summers are 90 plus starting late June. I think it is perfectly acceptable to experiment and have containers and have an in-ground garden. Now, if you can't do both, that's okay. But just because you have ground space doesn't mean you can't have containers time too, right? You can have all of it. Bowtie says to Mother Earth Garden Club, yeah, they have a decent product for an acceptable price. Okay, the alliums are next, either a bulb or a leaf. For the green onions, Ishikura, white Lipson, evergreen hardy. For garlic, soft neck varieties like Inchelium red and California early are grown in containers safely. The thing about planting garlic in containers in the spring is it probably isn't going to get, at least in my Minnesota area, isn't going to get to be massive or anything because we grow hardneck and we plant it in October, right? But garlic is still garlic. For the alliums, they are shallow roots but need space, so container depth of 6 to 8 inches. We have our fruit and berry section. The strawberries, of course, Albion, Seascape, Ozark Beauty, great in hanging baskets or tower pots. Strawberries have shallow root systems. They love vertical options. I see people grow strawberries in green stalks a lot that have problems with slugs, I think it is, that eat them on the ground. Container depth is 6 to 8 inches. In the hanging basket, a stackable planter, window boxes. Window boxes, yeah, I've seen strawberries in those too. I'm trying to figure out if we're in the no, okay, we're still in the containers section. We haven't made it to hanging pots yet. I thought, wait a minute. Nope, not yet. We're still in the containers. Oh, thank you for noticing, Radio Jonesy. This is thanks to Mushroom Mark. This is why I have this. It's an old shirt, but he got it for me a long time ago. Bowtie Life in the Garden. Okay, my potting soil of choice. It will probably surprise you. I tried so many soils that were not the same price as a bar of gold and was mostly disappointed with the terrible inconsistencies. Right. I'm going to get to the rest of your comment next. What I want to say is Epic Gardening or Epic Homesteading. I don't know which channel it was on, but they ran a test with tons of potting soils and it was a really good video to see what it looked like at planting time, how the plants performed, and the size of the harvest. It was great data. Adam says, I'm greedy, Shawnee. I have both. Yes. Bowtie Life in the Garden says, the soil I find the most consistent and always good is the Sta Green sold at my Lowell's. It is a bag. If a bag is torn, please don't tear the bags and take it to the nursery register. They give discounts. And you saw the video I'm talking about? Yeah, Radio Jonesy says Mushroom Mark must be a good guy. Mother Earth Garden Club. A lot of herbs are in mint family and containers restrain their invasive mess. Yes, that is on our list coming up, and that is a point we make. Yes, it keeps them. Now, here's my story. I had mint in a container. Of course, it has good drainage, right? Roots can escape out of the drainage holes. I had it on the ground. I now have mint permanently here. Janet Potter says, I'll be back. I have to take the cakes and muffins out of the oven. Don't burn the baked goods. Okay, so next is beans and peas, bush beans, Provider, Blue Lake 274, and make sure it says bush. Contender, bush, okay, because there's pole varieties too for these. Now, can you grow pole beans in a container? Sure, but you better have trellising figured out or you're growing it up the rails of your deck or something, right? Sugar snap peas are Sugar Ann, Little Marvel, and Cascadia. There is a pea that I grew indoors, but growing peas indoors, I don't have the right humidity or something, and they're just gross. But I want to grow them in my green stock outside, and I think they're called Tom Thumb peas. Sorry, I just did that in the mic. It's a bush. Yeah. So if you are going throughout this tonight and you're like, show us what that is, I can type it in and we could look for it and go shopping. So here's an example. Oh, it skipped to the... See how pretty it is in a container? Peas. And this is the Tom Thumb. Let's see. It reaches 8 to 9 inches in height. So I will be growing that in my greenstock tower. So for the bush beans and peas, peas are going to say bush or dwarf, unless you have a trellis plan. Container depth of 8 to 10 inches, 2 to 3 gallon pot, windowsill box, pot with trellis. It could be a piece of fencing. Here's the herbs category. We have basil, the Genovese or Greek dwarf, or spicy globe for containers. For parsley, flat leaf curly moss. For thyme and oregano and chives and mint. Keep mint in its own pot. And then cilantro, we have the name Santo and Slow Bolt to grow in containers. Now that is something I definitely see in green stalks or windowsills. Potters is the herb category, right? Well, now with herbs, they're flexible and compact. The container depth is 4 to 8 inches that they need. Bowtie says, my Truth About Mint video became my second most watched video in under 5 days. Bowtie says, after experimenting, I grow only Blue Lake stringless pole and mammoth melting sugar snow peas. It's good to have the tried and true. And that works great for you for flavor, for quantity, and for your environment, right? Bowtie says, I've grown both in 10-gallon grow bags with bamboo poles I got off the side of the road at our apartment. Miss Sharon says, I have a bunch of 8-inch clay pots too. I really need to use them. Stuff them full with all the things here. Adam says, Lowe's is my best friend, being a homeowner. Janet says, baked goods are saved. Woohoo! Some other fun crops that you can grow in containers. We talked about the potatoes, Yukon Gold, also red Norland and purple Majesty are ones you can experiment with growing in deep grow bags or a cardboard box or a garbage bag. Apparently pillowcases. For zucchini, it has to be bush, right? Bush baby, 8-ball, raven. Look for compact bush types and understand the radius of the growth, right? There's also, I want to say, honey nut or butter bush might work in a container for a winter squash. So with your potatoes, it's a tuber forming, needs depth and volume. Container depth 14 to 18 inches. Potato grow bags or buckets, 10 to 15 gallons ideal. I feel like you should go bigger. Why not? Cucumbers, the bush pickle variety, a space master variety, a patio snacker, and then Monica is what I grow indoors because it doesn't need pollinators. It's like a self-pollinating. Just have a fan on it and it'll produce a cucumber. So I'm going to grow Monica cucumbers in my green stock. They do vine and they'll just hang on the side. I'm not going to be sticking a stick in there and helping them along. They're on their own. Cucumbers and squash, the bush types. Again, I have to say bush. Container depth 12 to 18 inches. Cucumbers 5 to 7 gallon pot. Trellis for vining types. Zucchini bush 5 to 10 gallon pot per plant. One plant in one container, right? Bowtie says, mine too to Adam. I built our cabin in Arkansas from Lowe's and we're doing our current massive house remodel from Lowe's. So, Florida Sunshine Tropicals, hey there, putting them down, but here and have you running. Shawnee grows in BG for a bit. Background. Background? Not good with the abbreviating. Janet says, thanks for the reminder. I forgot to eat dinner. Eggplant parm? Okay, does anybody know if they make a bush eggplant for containers? They've got to. I saved some seed. My next experiment. Yes, welcome to the conversation, South Florida Sunshine Tropicals. Okay, now we're talking about hanging pots. Okay, so if you have that option, here we go. Strawberries, Tri-Star Everbearing. They're great for hanging baskets. Albion, we talked about earlier, high yield and sweet. Bowtie says yes, bush eggplant, they do make one. And BG was background. Woo, got it right. Okay. Our trailing cherry tomato varieties, Tumbling Tom, red or yellow, specifically bred for hanging baskets. Hundreds and thousands. Super prolific balcony, compact and spillover growth habit. Anybody grow any of these before? For the trailing, does anybody grow in hanging baskets? Should I start with that question? I don't have anything to hang them on. Like, I have baskets with the hook on them, but I don't have anything rigged up to hang them on. Because that would be wonderful to see things growing and falling down, right? In the peppers category, mini or compact varieties. So Pot-a-Peno, I have a picture of. We're going to look at it. It's a trailing jalapeno variety made for hanging pots. Basket of fire, colorful mini hot peppers with cascading branches. Chili chili is another one. I ran out of space. This is the picture of the hot Pot-a-Peno. I had never heard of it until I was doing the research. I thought, I gotta look at that. There it is. This is from EdenBrothers.com. And so this is just in a container. It's kind of like a bush. And then here's the hanging pot effect. Compact size, ideal for patio gardens, greenhouses, and hydroponic gardens. High-yielding cultivar produces abundant peppers all season long. Mild, spicy flavor packs a zesty bunch. And it says plant basil with peppers to keep critters away. You know, we like our companion planting. We did a whole live stream about it. It had all kinds of good tips in it. This was the eggplant thing. Yep. Mother Earth Garden Club says, I have kiddie pools with my strawberries. That is wonderful. I hear about that a lot. Adam says, I'm 5'7", short. I don't do many hanging baskets. Okay, we did peppers. Herbs are great choices. So thyme spills gently over the sides. Oregano, spreading growth. Creeping rosemary? No, I think oregano, I didn't put a period. Oregano, spreading growth, creeping. And then is it rosemary, hardy, and draping? And then mint. Grows like crazy. Keep it contained. It's a common thing we're going to repeat. Keep the mint under control. Lemon balm is also in the mint family. We also have, oh, this is a pepper conversation comment. Here we go. Bowtie says, most pepper plants grow phenomenal, fantastic, dreamy, a real delight in a 10-gallon grow bag for me. Remember, I'm super humid, so they don't dry out very easy. Water 1 or 2 times per week. Zombie Prepper, welcome to the conversation about growing food in small spaces. We are talking specifically about containers this evening. We already went over the materials of what can we grow in, and on the list said pillowcase. I thought that was wild. And now we've gone through all of the crops and varieties for containers. So now we're honing in on hanging basket varieties. What can we grow in a hanging basket? And stick around to the end because I have 4 bonus top tips for container gardening. Bowtie says too, Shawnee grows. I think we're in a coma when you were supposed to use those commas. Well, and then it's like to take up a character space for punctuation. Do you or don't you, right? You just get it together, right? Mother Earth Garden Club, pepper plants grow amazing in my green stocks. Yes, that is something that I want to do with my green stocks too. So far for green stock planting, I want to do the micro dwarf orange hat tomato, the Tom Thumb bush pea, the Monica cucumber. I should get some kind of pepper plant, but I'll have to buy a start because I already started my peppers and I don't think any of those are going to fit. The green stock is, I can't remember the soil depth that I have in there. Okay, so the herbs for the hanging basket next is trailing bean varieties. We have muscate. It's a bush bean bred for containers and hanging pots. Golden sunshine, small trailing yellow beans. Maximizing our space, right? Edible flowers are great choices too. We are going to designate an entire live stream to edible flowers to grow for sure in Minnesota. I want to know what they are, what they look like, and we're going to try and figure out how to use them, right? So that'll be a future live stream. Make sure you're subscribed to have the notification for that. So here for this conversation, we have nasturtiums, the jewel mix, Empress of India, edible peppery flavor. The violas is a really common thing you see in hanging baskets, right? Small, colorful, cold tolerant. Calendula, I never would have thought as a hanging basket variety. Apparently, it spills gently and adds bright color. I would have thought. Bowtie says to Mother Earth Garden Club, I find the green stalks dwarfs some of my plants. Peppers, dino kale, the lacinato kale, broccoli, cauliflower. I have 3. Which green stalk are you using? Is it the deeper pocket one or the shorter pocket one? Just curious. Mother Earth Garden Club basil and oregano root system takes over in a green stock. I just dumped out my soil from last year in my green stock, like I was talking about in the wheelbarrow, and I noticed that with herbs I think it was the rosemary. The entire top circle was the rosemary leaves. The whole thing came out with it. I was like, well, I didn't know that was happening. Bowtie says nasturtium, yummy. South Florida Sunshine Tropical says, okay, back. Had to put the youngest to bed. Welcome back. Zombie Prepper Radishes. Yeah, we spoke about. Oh, let me grab it. Maybe. It would have been in root crops. The varieties. Okay, radishes. The cherry bell, which is your typical red round radish. The the French breakfast are the oblong, ovally ones, and then the Easter egg is the beautiful different colors, the purples and reds and pinks that are round. Those are wonderful radishes to grow in containers. Um, Soil depth of 8 to 12 inches. Okay, back to the hanging basket. We talked about the flowers. So this is kind of an overall now. We're going to talk about container growing information. Use a potting soil. Okay, it is important. Do not use soil from your garden because it will compact in containers and won't drain water properly. Okay. Garden in containers has benefits to it, like avoiding the hassle of weeds and soil-borne diseases. So if you use garden soil, you're going to import the problem into your container. Now, we've mentioned a couple of places to look at for potting soil. You can mix up your own. Bowtie talked about using the tarp. I've talked about using a wheelbarrow, using the 3-2-1 recipe, 3 parts compost, 2 parts coconut coir, if you're okay with coconut coir, and then 1 part perlite. If you're okay with perlite, find substitutions for those. You don't have to use those exact things, but it's 3-2-1 for the parts. How do you figure out parts? You start with a gallon-sized bucket. So it would be 3 of those buckets of compost, 2 of those buckets for the next ingredient, 1 of those buckets. That's how you measure that, right? So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, the right light and temperature. That's always the conversation with gardening, right? So if it's a tomato or pepper, it needs full sun. 6 hours of direct sunlight each day, right? Understanding where that is on your property. If you live in a hot climate, you might need to shade plants during the heat of the afternoon so they don't overheat. You're in a container. Money vegetables don't like cold soil, so if you live in a cold climate, avoid putting your containers outside full time until you know the temperature will be reliably warm. Or you can wrap them around with bales of straw, and we can also kind of make a greenhouse effect where you put an old window panel on them, a tote lid that's clear from a Rubbermaid tote. We talked about all kinds of cold frame building in one of our previous live streams about winter sewing, cold frames, something like that. So that was really good information. And use a soil thermometer. Use your meat thermometer if you don't have a soil thermometer, right? Just get some data. At the hottest part of the day, if you don't understand if you can plant yet outside, take some soil temps, right? Watering correctly. Vegetable plants kind of need water to produce fruit, right? But we don't want to drown the plants. Too much water is a bad thing. So how do we figure that out? Well, I was always told when I used to water for the city, I used to drive a tractor around and water all the, plants downtown. You would water till it came out the bottom, right? We like to use the finger test. You stick your finger down in the soil about an inch. If it feels dry, add water. Check 2 times a day in containers in the heat of the summer. You might have to water in the morning and water in the evening. And then, of course, tip number 4, feed the plants. Okay? Feed the plants. When you are mixing up that potting mix, the potting soil recipe that we talked about, add some worm castings to that. Okay? And then every couple of weeks, you can add diluted liquid fish emulsion or liquid seaweed to your watering can. The directions are on whatever you bought. Like if it's what's his name? Neptune? Neptune's Harvest fish emulsion, or I can't remember the other one that I used to buy. It says on there what to do, right? Most of the potting soil mixes, they don't have food to keep that plant from when you planted it to the end. And there are granular fertilizers like Bowtie talked about. That is a dust. It looks dusty, dry. You sprinkle it on the top. You water it in if you don't want to use liquid food. Dealer's choice, right? Back to the comments section. I gotta where. Okay, there's the radishes. Bowtie says the shorter pocket one. Okay. Yeah, that really changes your grow list. Now they come with, what can you grow in this green stock? They give you the lists. Carol says, I have pretty nasturtiums with variegated leaves. At first, I thought it had bad leaf miners. Oh, Mother's Earth Garden Club says broccoli plants need more room. Yeah, I grew broccoli in 5-gallon buckets, and that's the only time I've had successful broccoli. And I'm supposed to get better at that. Bowtie says, I really got all the green stalks for flowers and strawberries, so did not get the deep ones. Makes sense, yeah. Janet says, Bowtie or dino kale would never fit in a green stalk. Yeah, that is not, we said how many inches kale would be happy at, and green stalk isn't big enough. Adam says, I'm growing half of my peppers in pots this year. 150 to 200 plants total? I don't remember either way. It's a lot of pepper plants. That is a lot of pepper plants. My pepper goals this year are to grow enough for fresh eating, of course, enough for some preserving projects, and enough to smoke on the grill and then dehydrate to have to either turn into a sauce or powder for seasoning in the wintertime. That's a goal I have this year. Bowtie says to Janet, oh, I have one in green stalk, tiny leaves. Carol says, so probably going to stick with herbs with my Dollar Tree greenish stalks. Yeah, those are small. If I can ever find my Makita bits for my drill, you could just get a screwdriver and a hammer. Bowtie Life in the Garden says to Adam, are you selling at a farmer's market or something? Well, that's a great question, actually. Is anybody doing plant sales? Because that kind of determines what container you're using. It's probably not coming back, right? Carol says to Adam, do you tent them so they don't cross? Or do you not care? Yeah, with peppers, what do? I don't like saving seed from peppers because you just don't get, you just don't get the right, I don't have a system down where it produces well the second year. I just buy new pepper seeds every year, right? Radio Jonesy says, back, I had to feed Charlie. Mother Earth says, I put the spinning bottom. Oh, you have the spinning bottom on your green stalks and turn every other day. I don't have the spinning base. It would be nice. I know my husband can build that, but the list of things is great, and it wouldn't happen this year if I had to do that. Bowtie Life says to me, 6 hours for you is about 3.5 hours for me here in sunny Florida. That's great that you understand that equation. If I moved anywhere, I would be so lost. I would have to use seed time to know when to start stuff because it's different. I mean, just in Minnesota alone, there's 3, 4 growing seasons of time. Janet says to Carol, I just picked up the Dollar Tree blue stalks today. Bowtie Life in the Garden says, that's a repeat? You must have had a typo of sun? Yeah, okay. I get it. Carol says, saw the broccoli in those hydro towers, Mother Earth Garden Club. I was shocked. Huge plant coming out of like 8-ounce mason jar plug. Weird, but they looked huge. Yes, Bowtie says Neptune's Harvest. Oh, Alaska. That's the one. Alaska fish emulsion. I used to get that one too. The jug lasts a long time though. I buy the big jug. Carol says yes, Neptune's Harvest is one, or they call it 511. Yeah, smells like going to the beach at low tide. Is that what that smells like? Mother Earth Garden Club. I got cereal bowls from a thrift store. Put in the bottom of the hanging basket, add soil and plants. The bowl holds a bit of water on the hot days. Yeah, because the hanging basket dries out. Yeah. Adam says, I preserve most of what I grow, Dave. South Florida. I isolate the pepper plants I save seeds from, so no worries. Wow, you really do all that? Jack Beanstalk, welcome to our conversation about growing food in small spaces, specifically containers. Working in the garden, but listening. Great. I said all the things I wanted to say. We're just reading the chat now. Good to see you. Carol says, thank you. Could not think of the word isolate. So many folks into peppers. My hubby hates them, so barely grow any. Well, and it's a nightshade. Can you even eat nightshades, Carol? Green-ish. I love it. Oh, let's just say you really need to just get those spinning bases to dream to have. I know. I gotta look for a sale, right? Miss Sharon is a friendly reminder to check out the website and support the channel, shawneegrows.com. There are items for free. There are items to buy. There's information about me. And don't forget that we have Learn As You Grow podcast that you can find right here on the YouTube channel under podcasts, or you can head on over to Spotify and hear me talk there if you want to hear more of me talking. You can listen to me on your way to bed, in the car to go get something, to do errands, walking an animal in the nature. You can listen to condensed versions of the live stream. Essentially is what I do is we'll have a live stream about a topic and then I'll do a podcast about it, and it takes really short amount of time because I don't have anyone talking to me and I don't have pictures to show. So sometimes the information's different. Most of the time it's a repeat. Carol says to Bota, yes, mine are blue, but I need a few more. Adam says, I am selling house plants at the market this year. I'm waiting to get my greenhouse built to sell veg and fruit starts. Are you paying a fee to be a part of the farmer's market? I'm wondering if that's everywhere. Everyone has to pay a fee to sell. Carol says, in moderation on nightshades, but not much. A lot of things are nightshades too. Bowtie says, not the beach at low tide, but it does smell like down at the fishing dock 6 hours after all the lobstered, burned tourists get back in from the Gulf. Ew. Carol, do you have a live coming up that we can promote for you? So we did their bonus top tips. That's what they were. And don't forget, if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe for more gardening chats. And I always try to have yummy things in the description, like links to articles, images, tools, and videos related to gardening. And for our upcoming lives, when I can get it in, the conversations I want to have are edible perennials to plant in April, May for Minnesota, and edible flowers for Minnesota. And it's going to be great. Bowtie says farmer's market fee, yes. Carol says yes, all the tasty things. Mother Earth Garden Club says I have so many tomatoes and pepper starts, but share with family and friends. I do love having success because you worry when you start getting into growing things from seed to start them, you plant extra. Because what if we have this little window in Minnesota where if you don't have it started, it ain't gonna happen, or you're gonna have to go buy it, which is fine. But the variety options are terrible once you start wanting to grow other things. Mother Earth says I have no boundaries when I start planting. I told this story yesterday on the live stream that I had to commit plant murder for half a tray of celery because I started way too much. And then I realized as it got all filthy, like that was microgreens. I could have ate all of that. Duh. And then I had another tray that I stuck outside and it was doing great of celery. And I didn't bring it in one of the nights. It got too cold and it fried it. Got it cold, burnt it. If I would have just brought it in, I would have had backup celery, right? Janet says, oops, I forgot to hit the thumbs up. All good now. Carol says, yes, smells like the end of the pier, too. Will be in half hour if I do. Not set up yet. Okay, so we don't have the link, but we will be heading over to South Florida Sunshine Tropicals when this is over. Adam says, Shawnee, I pay $25 to $40 per spot, depending on which county I'm selling at. So hold on, that's for the year, or that's when you go to sell that day? Now, an argument I'm having with people is the farmer's market has to pay the city a fee. And we're like, why? They're on property taxes, pay for the place where they are. And it was insurance, liability, because people and stuff. Rules. I love rules and I hate rules at the same time, right? Carol says, love that. No boundaries for planting. And Adam, where are you in the planet Earth? If you don't mind us asking. And Radio Jonesy says, hi, Carol. We are going to end it in 3 minutes. 3-minute warning. Let's do this poll thing. What would you most love to grow in containers this season? And the winner is tomatoes or peppers with 41%. Fresh herbs, basil, thyme, mint are 29%. Coming in with strawberries or small fruits. And when I say small fruits, I mean those pretty patio container blueberries, those dwarf citrus situations, right? Name some other fruits that grow in containers. I'm not sure. And then last was the salad greens, lettuce, kale, spinach. Nobody wants that. Anne's Place, welcome. Morning, everyone. Hey, we're on our way out to, what is it called? South Florida Sunshine Tropicals next. So, Garden State Gardener, hey, aren't you working or are you off working right now? Good to see you. We talked about growing food in small spaces and we're heading out the door in 2 minutes. Did I read this one? Bowtie Life says, my seed starting boundaries are 6 trays. That is all that fits in my little space, but I rotate them out to the garden and plant more all spring. I planted hot pepper plants as late as June 22. Wow. Yeah, I only have how many trays can I? 10, 20 trays. Is it 4 fit in my grow area indoors? And so just this week, I needed to up out the peppers, and there's a lot of them. And I needed to start the tomatoes. So I took the tomatoes I was growing all winter, the micro dwarf orange hats, and harvest them and took them out. Great, I have space. All the onions in my 10-20 tray, took them outside. I'm bringing them in at night, but possibly next week I don't have to do that anymore because they are going to be going outside soon as well. So we're in that hardening off stage. So that's not in the grow area anymore. Bowtie says me equals mint 100%. Adam says, Shawnee, per day. It is per day. And you're in Southern Oregon. Oh, I remember you saying that now. Anne's Place says, I'm asleep sitting here. It's 5 a.m. Okay, well, later on today, when you're bored, catch the replay, and we went over specific variety names for crops that grow in containers. What type of containers can we use, like pillowcases and hanging basket varieties? Not Ubering anymore. No more third job. Your life is free. That's crazy. Okay, I'm out. You know what we do? Grow every day in every way. Learn as you grow.